You're now tuned in to the Desire to Trade podcast, a show where we bring you the best figures of the trading world and teach you how you can become a successful trader. This is your host, Siam Kidd.
Man, it is so cold in Canada. Crazy stuff, guys. Anyway, it's Siam Kidd here. Welcome to episode 84 of the Desire to Trade podcast. As you guys probably understood, I came back to Canada pretty recently. This is actually the first interview I record back home in Canada. And I'm going to be here not for so long because I do have to go back to China for a conference. As a matter of fact, I'll be speaking at the China Forex Expo in about 6 weeks in May, early May. And I'll keep you guys updated, of course, as I do this. But for now, I'm here. I'm trying to fix a few things with Toastmaster, which I'm part of, and a couple of other things. One thing I'm really happy about being back here is that I'll be able to do live event pretty soon. And I'll let you guys know, of course, whenever that's going to be coming out. Today for the interview, I have a guest who's not focused on trading, but focused on building multiple streams of income. It's good to want to know how to trade and to be able to trade. But if you're replacing your job by a job of trading, it's not even worth it. It's the exact same thing. So the focus of the interview today is really about how to build multiple streams of income, how to have many ways to earn money. And that's really the big key. The more you jump into this, the more you learn that trading is not only about having one thing to trade, it's about having many ways to earn money. And that makes it much easier for you to be able to earn money from trading. So my guest today is Siam Kidd. And Siam has been really, really helpful to help me and help you guys understand how you could build businesses with your trading. Siam is trading only 5 minutes a day, which is pretty crazy. It's really, really awesome. And it's pretty much what I do these days, especially when I travel. So Siam has been sharing all his advice on how you can do this as well. And it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. We've talked a lot about how he went from not knowing a lot about trading to being able to make money, just a little bit of money, and then making a lot of money, which is really interesting, the change he had to make. So please help me welcome Siam Kidd. So Siam Kidd, welcome on the Desire to Trade podcast. How's it going today?
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And the first question we always ask the guests at the beginning of the podcast is, what is one quote that inspires you?
Oh, I've had it for years. I don't know who said it. It's probably in a self-development book, but it's, you need to be prepared to live like most won't, so in the future you can live like most can't.
Love that.
Yeah, it stuck with me for a while because I used to eat shit, so to speak, for a good few years before things got good.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So tell us what's going on these days in your life.
It's quite busy, actually. So I'm getting I'm full swing into mergers and acquisitions. So it's sort of another string in my bow. So I bought 10 businesses last year, and yeah, I'm growing through acquisition, basically.
What kind of businesses, just for fun?
I learn everything through trial and error. I'm a bit of an idiot, which just likes doing stuff, and I learn through my errors. So a few years ago, I started on a bit of a spending spree on just anything. I was industry agnostic. I'd buy any business as long as the numbers were good, because I've got some criteria of what I look for in a business. And as a result, I bought everything. I've got a factory with about 25, 30 staff. I've got education company, a training company, a floatarium, like a float center, like a few different online subscription-based businesses, a marketing company, a business service. There's all sorts of different things. But I've been going through a bit of business indigestion, so to speak, because there's no congruency between the companies within the group. It wasn't that efficient. So what I've done now is I'm focusing on a particular niche, and that way, due to the congruences, there is better efficiency, so to speak. So just looking for education and training companies now.
Interesting. So, and trading wise, what are you doing these days?
What I've always done, really. I'm always saying that boring trading is good trading, and the way I trade only takes me about 2 minutes a day, max 5 minutes. And it's a mix of swing trading and trend trading. So, I mean, back in the day, like most people do, you spend hours, just staring at the charts, doodling all sorts of different lines across them and whatnot. But I've got a lot of my stuff not automated in terms of mechanics, but automated in terms of I've got my radars, so to speak. So every morning I open my screens. I've got 3 screens here, nothing ostentatious. I literally just scan my eyes across the radar, and within seconds I'll know if there are any setups. And if I then have a setup, I'll place it, and that takes an extra few minutes. I then journal it, etc., and then I text out my setup along with a video. So as I'm doing it, I always make a quick 2-minute video just to put my thought processes in it, and then I text that video out to whoever follows me, really. I'm a big fan of transparency, especially in this industry where it's full of sharks.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept, because I know a lot of people listening to this podcast have a day job, and probably they're really short on time. Like they don't have time to probably day trade like 5 or 6 hours a day, right? And that's pretty much the way I've been trying to make myself trade also, like over the years. If I want to travel, do something other than trading, right? It's much better, I think, to do something faster in trading also.
Yeah, so, exactly. Otherwise, you just buy yourself a job.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not what you want, of course.
It's quite funny because, I mean, day trading is a funny one because over the years, I've been trading for about 12 years now, and I must have met thousands of day traders, and I probably only know 2 successful day traders. And I mean, I've met loads of people say that they are successful, but I'm quite skeptical. I have a thing called the 4 whys. So with everything in life, I always ask why at least 4 times. And when you start questioning your motives for trading, so why do you trade? And the general answers are, because I want more money. Why do you want more money? So I can live like I want to. I can do what I want. Why do you want to do that? So my family has the best future possible. Why do you want that? Blah blah blah. And after, you just need to ask yourself why until there is no answer. And basically, the reason you trade, or you should trade, is for financial freedom, basically. And financial freedom isn't just money, but it's also time freedom. And time is so much more important. And why day trade? Why? Because you're swapping a job for staring at charts for 5+ hours a day. That's not good quality of life. Yeah, whereas you can get the same results, if not better, from, 2 minutes a day. So that's why I say boring trading is good trading.
All right. Well, I'll have a bunch of questions for you on that topic, but I just want to know, how did you start to trade exactly? Like, how did you come into trading in the first place?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Well, let's go with the story one.
Okay. So I'm inherently lazy, and I was thinking, I think I was 18 years old, and I was thinking, how can I make money in my underwear, in bed, on my laptop? And I did a bit of, it wasn't even Google back then, it was Alta Vista. That's
right.
Yeah, so I did a bit of sort of searching, and I came up with 2 options, which is online trading and online gambling. And I thought, trading seems a bit scary, so let's try gambling. And I got into online roulette, and being the idiot that I was, I thought I cracked it. I thought I had a system, and I was like, this is awesome. And I managed to turn about, a few £100 into about £3,000 within probably half an hour. And I now know the system I had is called the martingale system, which is literally the worst money management thing ever, because what you do is you double up every time you lose. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what are the odds of getting black 10 times in a row or 20 times in a row? And I was unaware of the Monte Carlo fallacy. And what that basically means is, if, let's say, you have black on the roulette wheel comes up 15 times in a row, well, loads of people would then think, well, it's been black 15 times in a row, it has to go red now. But it is a fallacy. When you look at the maths, each roll is 50-50. So there's the fallacy that way. And also, the martingale system works in an infinite environment. So if you have infinite money and there's no ceiling, you'll always win. But most of the time, there is always a cap. And I think this online gambling broker I had, you can only bet a maximum of like £3,000 per spin or something like that. So long story short, I've made loads of, £3,000 straight away. I was in the Air Force at that time, and I went to all my mates. I went, no, I cracked it. Come and see. So after dinner, they all piled into my room, and the £3,000 turned to £4,500, and then I lost everything And it was just in front of, there was about 8 people in the room, and like I was like crushing my mouse. It was so embarrassing. And then when they all left, I then maxed out my credit card. So I lost basically all my profit, my seed, and then a further 5 grand on my credit card. And for an 18-year-old, that was a lot of money.
Yeah. So was that trading the safe way to go then, or how did that go?
Sorry?
Was trading the kind of safe way to go, or was it as hard?
No, it was harder. So, I mean, I was like, right. In fact, it was really low point actually, because that night it was like 4 a.m. I remember actually calling Gamblers Anonymous or some gambling helpline I found online, and I was just like in tears down the phone to this random stranger. But but yeah, so since then I've never gambled. So it was a good lesson, I suppose. But then I thought, right, gambling is just a mug's game. Let's get into trading. How hard can that be? And so I was an Air Force pilot, and I thought I was too cocky for my own good, I think, because I thought, right, if I can fly military aircraft, trading is going to be a piece of piss. I mean, everything's going to be easy from now on. And oh my God, I lost 50 grand in my first year of trading. It was horrible. And then like the first 4 years, I was the biggest muppet you could ever meet. I was burning like 2 grand a month every month. All my friends thought I had a gambling problem, which I pretty much did, except it was a trading problem. And because the Air Force, like as an officer, you live in the officer's mess. So everything's catered for you. You know, you have food, accommodation, everything. So I managed to live on 10% of my income. And the remaining 90%, I was just spunking on the market. It was just, yeah, literally, I thought, right, 2 grand. And every month I was trying to turn 2 grand into like 20 grand. So that's why I lost for 4 years straight. And then year 4 to year 6, I got a little bit of consistency, but I was still trying to swing for the fences and turn, you know, a tiny account into a 6-figure account. And I now know lots of people have done that, as in try and follow that path. And like for every success story you hear, there's probably like 10 million people that have failed. So
right. And what I want to know is, what was the change for you to go from not profitable to making a little bit of money, and then from a little bit of money to making a lot of money in trading? Was that like, is it like a clear change, or something hard to explain?
It was a clear thing, change in my habits, but the results came a lot slower than I thought. So between year 4 and year 6, I call them the doldrum years, because like you could have asked me any trading question or any indicator, anything, you know, 4 years in, and I would have given you a good answer. Like I knew a lot, and it was frustrating because I had all of this knowledge about trading. I knew like everything, like, well, I thought I did. And yet my bank balance was still negative or flat if I was lucky. And it was just so frustrating. And then I came across another quote, God knows where it is from, but it's basically, if you treat something like a hobby, you'll get hobby-like results. But if you treat something like a business, you'll get business-like results. And
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? And like, if you look at most people on the markets, I'm pretty sure that at least 90% of the people on the markets are dabblers. And we now live in a world where there is zero space for amateurs. Literally, if you want to succeed in anything, you have to be professional in it. If you want to, you know, go in the Olympics, you can't go there half-heartedly. You can't be an amateur. Like, so I very quickly realized that to succeed in anything, you need to treat it properly, i.e. treat it like a business. And so I literally bought a notepad, I bought a pen and a notepad the next day. And I was like, right, I'm going to treat it like a business. I've never ran a business up until that point. And I was like, right, and I started logging everything. So I was logging trades. I was treating it like, you know, I was an accountant for a business, so to speak. So I didn't know it was a thing, you know, trade journaling, but I was like writing all the stats, the numbers, the reason why I got into the charts. And then later on, I started taking screenshots of when I entered, when I exited, and then literally had a nice journal. And straight away, I felt I had more discipline in my trading. Because I created I stumbled across a trading plan, so to speak, that I just made up. It made me stick to that. Whereas before I'd be like shooting from the hips. I'd be looking at bloody forums on the internet, taking setups from random people online, or paying freaking black box, you know, where you have this automated robot trading for you, and I have no idea how it was placing trades. And every scam I've fallen. As I said, I'm a bit of an idiot. But by year 6, I was thankfully consistently profitable. I wasn't like going great guns. I was happy. Like I was making between 5 to 10% per year, and I was over the moon just simply because I wasn't losing any money anymore. And so that really, if you had to boil it down to one thing, it was literally logging your trades and then analyzing your stats, because there's zero chance of you ever improving your trading if you don't know your stats. Because there I was year after year just trading and trading. Oh, why am I losing? Oh, I don't know. Doing more of the same thing, shooting from the hips. Like the only way you improve, I mean, another good quote is whatever is measured improves.
Yeah.
So I got in the habit of every Christmas just printing out everything and then spending 2 weeks just analyzing the crap out of me, I guess. And yeah, only through your logging can you establish your stats and like basic things like your hit rate, your average number of trades per month, your R multiples, expectancy, all of these different, your drawdowns, all those sorts of basic stats. And then simply, I was like, right, here's the list of trades where I've lost. And it was a big list. It was always bigger than my winners. And I was like, right, what am I doing on these trades? Right, or this year, I'm just not going to do that. And then through basically, just not doing the bad things, I've got profitable. So I'm no superstar. I'm straight up about that. Yeah, I'm no whiz kid. I'm not clever. I'm just an average bloke with distinctly average qualities, I guess, who's just learned through trial and error.
Yeah, I love that a lot because it's pretty much the way I've been doing it also, like tracking everything. And like the first time I heard about journaling and tracking, I was like amazed. Like it's a whole different thing I didn't hear about. So it's pretty crazy the first time you hear about that. So, but yeah, it's really like knowing what is good versus what is bad in your trading, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like I got really anal with my logging. So I got it to the point where, so every trade I placed, I'd then take an entry screenshot of it. And then obviously when the trade closed, I'd take an exit screenshot. I'd then print out those. So I put those two screenshots on landscape on an A4 piece of paper and then print out. So for each trade, I'd have basically 2 pages. And I'd be doodling over them and put the stats and etc. And then at the end of every month, I'd have like a sheet of paper which had all the stats of everything, your accuracy rates or everything. And then like it was great because at the end of the year, I had basically 12 sections I won every month. And then it just made your stat analysis way, way easier. And I highly encourage you to do that. And I've really it's really annoying. So there's this company which won't let me buy it, so I've made friends with these 2 really cool guys, and they've created literally the world's best trading journaling software, and it's freaking epic. Like it does everything. So you when you place a trade, the software picks it up, and then even if you're away and your trade closes, it picks it up, and then it just gives you all of the stats, and then you can literally look at an interactive chart. So you can simply write what happened to that trade, and it will show you, when you entered, and then you just press the arrow key on your keyboard, and then it will just simulate next day. It will show you when you move your stop. And yeah, unfortunately, they won't let me buy the company because that'd be huge.
Yeah.
It's called Trade Replay. They're pretty new as a company. I don't know if they got a website out, but
we'll try to find a link and put it in the show notes. Trade Replay. Cool. And so, from that point of you making a little bit of money from trading, what was the change, or like what did you need to do to become more successful, even like being able to, what is going to be, have more return or put more money in it? What change did you make at that point?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So the way I trade is quite jagged. So I don't have big drawdowns. So by the way, I've got 3. With your trading, you should only have 3 outcomes: small wins, small losses, and monumental wins. The moment you let that 4th bastard of big losses enter your account, then you're screwed, because like you have to look at things in terms of time ROI. I mean, everyone's obsessed with, how many pips did you make, or how much money did you make? But it's all about time. And the thing is, like, if you half your account, so you have a huge 50% drawdown, in terms of time ROI, you've put yourself back 3, maybe 4 years, which is huge. Whereas if you have a really bad drawdown of say 10%, and by the way, a 10% drawdown in my book is huge, you've put yourself back 4 months. So it's a lot better than, 4 years. So one of the things I do is I trade very small position sizes. So I can't remember the last time I traded at 1% max risk per trade. So I tend to go in at 0.25% max risk, or if I'm feeling ballsy, 0.5% max risk. And it's all about your R multiple. So what I tend to do, like on a typical year, I'll have flat month, huge monumental win. Flat month, flat month, flat month, flat month, or even tiny losing month, and then huge win. So over the year, I have maybe 2, maybe 3 massive wins. And as a result, I mean, off the top of my head, so last year, actually, I was 5% down in 2016. 2015, I was 60.33% up. The year before that, I was about 60% up. And the year before that was great. I was up 300 odd percent, which for me is like, I mean, if you gauge that against like an average investor, that's what 300 years worth of profit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so going back to your question, so what I tend to do, so I trade really conservatively for the first 3 quarters of the year. So normally by September, October time, I'm normally anywhere between 10 to 20% up, or maybe 30, who knows. And then what I do is I go, right, we have a quarter left, 3 months left to the end of the year. And I then start to play with some of the profits. So for example, the 2015, so I was running a fund in 2015. It was a small fund. It was a £1.4 million account up to 2.5 million. So it was a tiny account. By September, by August, I was 80% up. So it was an absolutely amazing year. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to play with some of these profits now. And I said to myself, right, I'm happy ending the year 60% up because that's just an awesome year. So with the 20% that I was playing with, I effectively went large. So the position sizes were, much bigger, etc.
So what do we talk about when we say large here? Because you're risking 0.25 per trade, right? So is that like 1% or more than that?
No. Well, the way I do it, yeah. So I was probably going in around sort of 1, maybe 2% max risk per trade, okay. But I'd be scaling in heavily into a position. So, for example, Black Monday in 2015, I managed to make 420 grand in half an hour, which was quite good because I was sat in my office in my underwear all day, just screaming down the corridor to my wife, going, "We're 100 grand up, 300 grand up." And yeah, but and so like, I was scaling into those trades aggressively. So I remember on pound Kiwi, it spiked up over the space of 10 minutes. I think it shot up like 1,800 pips in like 5 minutes, which is nuts. And in that 5 minutes, I probably managed to get off about 20, 25 trades in that. Yeah, so I was scaling in like every 10, 15 pips. So I sort of went into day trading mode on that day just because everything was just going nuts. So that's that. And so in 2015, it didn't work. So I actually lost that 20% and ended up 60% up. But the 300%, I think it was 310% year. Again, I was up, I think by September, I was up like 40%. And I thought, right, let's play with 20%, and then managed to turn it into triple figures. So it was more luck than anything, just it doesn't happen all the time. So, but if we have a boring year, I'd expect maybe 10% ROI. So
okay,
nothing.
Yeah, so it's kind of playing with luck, but putting boundaries, so you're not losing everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, if we have a year where absolutely jack shit happens and like nothing, no big moves, nothing, I'll average 10% ROI, which I'm pleased with. Or I'm happy with. Because of the way I trade, whenever there are big moves, I tend to catch them. And I've just been really fortunate that over the last 3-4 years, we've been living in such an uncertain economic world, and we've had loads of huge moves, like the flash crash. We had the 2015 Black Monday, the Swiss franc unpegging from the euro just dying. We've had the Trump bump. Literally, like, it's like every year, like we're getting like a huge move like twice a year at the moment. And so I'm just filling my boots.
Right. I want to go back a little bit in those times where you, like those events where you were day trading. Isn't that kind of going away from your trading plan, or is it part of it? It
was away. Well, so let's use Black Monday again. So I don't like using day trading. It's just that I have these, I call them fishing nets. It's nothing fancy, but I had an idea of that something was about to happen with Black Monday. And I remember texting my investors on the Friday night. I was like, the market's looking really fishy at the moment. It's going to be interesting on the Sunday night open. And then on the Sunday night, when it opened, I text everyone again. It was like 11 p.m. And I was like, tomorrow's going to be pretty special. I don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to happen. And I cancelled all my meetings for the next day. And then lo and behold, we had Black Monday. I didn't think it would be that big. Now, what I was doing is I set up a whole bunch of entry orders to catch the market moving south. So mainly on the indices, so like on the Dow, etc. And what I did is I set up an entry sell order at, I think it was either 25 pip or 50 pip intervals, because the market was coiling and I was expecting some sort of explosive move. So I thought it would punch through a bunch of levels. And so I had literally, 5 or 10 entry orders waiting. And then as the market exploded, it was probably around 2 in the UK time, we had these huge 1,000 pip spikes. I mean, were you trading on that year on Black Monday?
I don't think so. No, I'm really day trading, so no, probably not.
But yeah, it's just absolutely nuts. I mean, you look at the 5-minute chart and it's just stupid. I mean, I never go that far, but yeah. And so because it was spiking that much, like all of my entry orders were coming in, and I was moving my stops, etc. So yeah, I mean, that was just a one-off. But normally I'm on the daily charts. It's really boring. And my trades last probably anywhere between a week to 3 weeks. So
Yeah. And it's pretty much the same way I trade. The only problem I have with this kind of trading, though, and you probably see it too, I think for beginners, it's hard to kind of the feedback loop is longer, right? It takes more time for you to know whether you trade are good or bad. So how do you deal with this? Because I feel like it takes a long time for people to learn how to do this right.
Yeah, see, the thing is with your stats, you need a good data set, so to speak. And unfortunately, if you do trade on the daily charts, if you trade sensibly, you're not going to be placing that many trades over the year. Exactly. So I probably place maybe, in fact, my stats I've got my stats here actually. What is it? So with the Lambo, so I'm placing four a month. So I'm placing basically one trade a week. So in terms of maths and stats, like a data selection of 50 trades is insignificant, really. So it's hard, but thankfully I've had 12 years of looking at my stats. So that helps. So with someone else, so if someone's just starting up, what I would highly recommend now, just to accelerate your learning curve, is to find a mentor, someone who trades and has a tried and tested strategy, so to speak. And that way you can effectively like wipe out the first 4 years of crap I had to go through. Because I've only found my method through trial and error. Whereas if you've got someone who's got something that works, you can then, lean back on their stats and then tweak it to make it your own. Because it's all very well and good, learning from someone and taking their system, so to speak. But everyone is different, and you have to tweak things to how your life is. And going back to your question, like how do you cope and whatnot? Well, yeah, it's really boring. If you trade properly, it's boring as hell, which is great. Because most of the time, if you just sit on your hands, you do the right thing. Because if you, like another tip is like get rid of the P&L on your trading software.
All right. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, don't look at the pounds. Because like if you have, let's say you're in a move and it goes in your favor and I don't know, it spikes 100 pips in your favor and whatnot, you're going to be looking at the P&L and you're going to be like, oh, I'm, £10 up or £1,000 up or, however big your account is. And every bone in your body is going to be like, snatch. Literally take profit, whereas, I mean, because I'm a trend trader, I don't snatch. With one of my systems, I don't snatch. I let it run until the market reverses, basically. And yeah, most of the time, if you sit on your hands and do nothing, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and even for myself, I don't look like I have no clue how I'm doing until the end of the month, when I look at my stats. Other than that, like I have no clue whether I'm good or bad, or like if I do well or not. In percentages, I don't care. I just look at the end of the month, and that's pretty much all I look at.
And also be very aware of your R multiples as well. So I'm sure most people listening to this are familiar with your triple R, i.e. your risk to reward ratio. Yeah. So like if you have a strategy which is, a triple R of 1, so an R multiple of 1. So let's say you're risking, 1%, and if you win, you'll make 1%. If you lose, you'll lose 1%. Well, if you have an R multiple of 1, you need to ensure that your hit rate, i.e. your accuracy, is above 50%. Realistically, it needs to be about 52% because of costs and slippage and, commissions with your broker. So that would be a positively skewed system. I get so frustrated, like with people going, oh yeah, I've got this really good day trading system on the 1 minute chart. It's 90% accurate. And I'm like, oh great. Well, how big is your stop loss? Well, like anyone could pluck out of their arse, a system which is 99% accurate. All you do is you have a 5 pip limit and 1,000 pip stop loss.
Right.
But the thing is, like, when you have that loser, you're going to wipe out all of your profits. So yeah, just try and at least get an R multiple of at least 3, 2 to 3 R per day.
And because I feel in your case, you're living your trade run, right? So how do you know in advance what your reward is going to be, or do you just go and then expect the average is going to be something?
So I've got an arsenal of a few different strategies because
it always depends. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you can't rely on just one strategy because there's 6 types of markets. A lot of people say there are 3 markets: up, down, and sideways. Well, it's actually 6 because you have up, down, and sideways volatile, and up, down, and sideways steady. And so, you need to understand that your system will only work in, a few of those things. So where you have something which may work in a volatile ranging market, where, things are probably, where the market's probably bouncing between some certain levels, 500 pips each way, you may have a nice swing trading type strategy there. But the moment the market starts trending, you're going to get absolutely wiped out. So, for instance, I got myself into a muddle with Bollinger Bands way back in the day, probably in year 1 or 2, where it was great during a ranging market, as you know, because the market is going up and down. And so Bollinger Bands are all right for that. But the moment it starts trending, you get absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, exactly. Or you have no trade at all, for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have a few different strategies. So with my trend trading strategy, I have no limit. So I set it up with this, I call it the Lambo. When I get a Lambo set up, it has a high probability of trending. And I really don't get excited in a trade until I'm at least 500 pips up. So I leave that because I'm all about bagging the 1,000 pipper trades. Whereas if I'm doing more support and resistance type trade, I will always put a stop loss in and a limit. So that way, with my S&R trades, I will always know my predetermined R multiple. Because if I'm risking, say, 50 pips and I'm expecting 300 pips, if it hits the limit, then I know my R multiple straight away. So
I know we've talked about journaling, we've talked about a little bit how you trade, but do you have any other habits outside of trading that you think help you succeed in trading?
Habits, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, planning. I suppose now that I'm into business as well, it's made me more disciplined. So, in fact, I'm going to sidestep that question for a moment because there's something else so one of the biggest errors that I did early on is I went full-time trading when I couldn't afford it. So this is why I think initially you should always trade to learn instead of to earn.
Right. That's important. And I think, just to say it quickly, I think people want to jump too fast sometimes, and that's the problem.
Yeah, definitely. And people are obsessed with, right, I've got a $5,000 account here, I need to double it, or I need to make, I need to replace my full-time employment straight away. And they put $5,000 in and they're hoping to make $2,000 a month from day one. And that's not going to happen. And I've seen this happen with so many people, and I did it myself, where eventually my trading got good. And it lulled me into a false sense of security because when I was in the Air Force and my trading got good, it was great because I was earning well with the Air Force. My trading was great. I wasn't relying off any of my trading to pay any bills. It was just, I was growing my account. And then when I took the plunge to quit the Air Force to go trading full time, I had to pay my rent, my bills, everything through my trading account. And so I had to make $1,000 to 1,500 quid a month just to pay my bills.
Over what kind of account did you have at that time?
It wasn't that big. It was like a $50,000 account.
Okay.
It was quite small, and
but it's not that bad as I think most people try to make work. I think.
Yeah, but that was just to break even, just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so I was forcing myself to try and make $3,000 a month. And I've got my calculator here. My maths is shit these days. So $3,000 a month on a 50K account, that's 6%. So I was trying to make 6% per month,
It's like every
which
month.
is
Yeah.
every month, which was hard. And like, I remember the real crux was when, I mean, it went well for about 3 or 4 months. And then there was 1 month, I don't know what happened. I think I was in a fit of rage or something. And I just ignored nearly all of my rules. And I did a bit of revenge trading. And yeah, I lost a big amount. And that month, not only did I not have the money to pay the bills, I lost a lot. And then I had to get a loan out. And then, that is when I started my, so about 6 years ago now, there was a 6 month period where Ellie, my wife, and I were living off like 17 pence spaghetti hoops from Asda, and it was tough. It was horrible. And so in hindsight, the thing I've learned is that if you're going to trade to pay for your lifestyle, you've got to be super, super careful, because all of a sudden you've got that added pressure. You've got a monetary target you need to hit every month. And what happens is your trading goes to shit. It really does. And I've always found that, like, if I'm trading just to grow the account and I'm not taking money out of it and I don't need to pay bills, that's when my trading has always been really good. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. I think it's a big point. And we said it many times that like people have to develop multiple streams of income, whether it's going to be with a job or with like whatever else you want to try to make money from, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, one of the things I say to nearly everyone that I meet who is embarking on this journey is that we all obsess with, becoming a trader, but, we want to be Gordon Gekko or, one of, Jack Schwager's, interviewees, so to speak. And you may say to your friends or at dinner party, oh yeah, I'm a trader, etc. But the thing is, you must not become obsessed with being a trader. At the end of the day, you need to consider yourself as an investor. And trading is simply an arrow in your quiver. It's just one of the things you do. And so we should all strive to build our financial Parthenon. And I call it the Parthenon because, I mean, the Parthenon in Athens in Greece has been there for like 2,500 years now. And it's still standing. And the reason it's still standing is because it has loads of freaking pillars around it. And unfortunately, like, we all have a financial Parthenon. And unfortunately, most people have one pillar, i.e. a job.
Yeah.
And if you lose your job, you're screwed. So then people they then have a job and then trading. So they've got two pillars. And then they get rid of their job pillar, like I did. And then they're back to one pillar. And then when you have a bad month, you're screwed again. So you are an investor. And that's why I think the biggest boost for me with my trading had nothing to do with trading, which was really weird. It was when I got into business. And like, as an investor, I spent ages scouring the globe for, the best ROI, the best, ROI for time and also for money. And I very quickly came across business, and business is the best asset class bar none. You can generate huge amounts of wealth and cash flow in the shortest period of time, even starting with zero cash. Whereas with trading, you need capital to make capital. And I realized that, trading is just a pillar and businesses is another pillar. And then you need all sorts of other things. And so what I did is I started building businesses and then simply siphoning off the excess profits that my businesses were making into my trading account. And because my businesses were providing my lifestyle, there was no pressure with my trading. And so every month I was growing my account, by about $5,000 a month or 5 or 10 grand a month through my businesses. And then my trading was, growing it by, another 10, 20% per year or more recently, a lot more. And that itself. So I think going back to a previous question you said probably about half an hour ago, the thing that really propelled me was business. It had nothing to do with trading.
Really powerful. I think that's a big key. I think you're the first guest who's coming on the show talking about other businesses, right? But it's really, really good to hear. It's really important, I think, for people to hear that.
Cool.
I've seen from the start where you talked about your different businesses that you invest.
Yeah.
Like most people don't talk about this. They just talk about trading. They only have trading in their life. So it's a big difference, I think.
I know, but the thing is, like, with trading, you can never really automate it. I mean, yes, you can get like a script of some sort, but I mean, I've never had a successful script. I've probably commissioned 10, 20 different bots, and it's never as good as my manual trading. And yes, you can get a really good bot, but the thing is, we don't have enough money compared to like high frequency trading firms that dump tens or hundreds of millions into it. And so, whereas with business, I much prefer buying a business where it has, good margins, it's got a management system in place, and I simply just parachute a managing director in to run it, and then literally all the dividends just flow upstream. And like every Friday, my managers email me the Friday figures, so to speak. And then if their business is doing well, I leave them alone. And if their numbers are below the line, so to speak, I simply pick up the phone and go, what's going on? So I simply, you just live off the dividends and yeah.
I love the idea. And just so people know, because now you're buying businesses, but how did you start with that? Did you build a business yourself? And what kind of business?
Yeah, so I've had there's a million ways to skin a cat. And like with trading, by the way, a lot of people diss other forms of trading or other trading indicators. Today I've been bashing day trading, but I'm not saying it doesn't work. Of course it works. There are traders all over the globe who are absolutely nailing it with day trading. And there are people who are nailing it with Bollinger Bands or RSI or stochastics or any of these different things. So everything works. And there's just a million different ways to do it. And with business, I found my own little sort of niche. And for me, it's about having part-time, online-based, subscription-based businesses. So high margin, low price point, high volume amount. So a prime example would be things like Amazon, Netflix, all of these subscription companies where you're paying £7 a month and you get crap loads of user bases, so to speak. Yeah, so that's what I'm focusing on. So getting into M&A, I learned lessons from trading. I was like, right, I want to get into buying businesses, because if you look at any billionaire, pretty much, their wealth has not come from setting up, running and growing the business. All their wealth comes from selling the business. Like Elon Musk, he only realized his wealth once he sold his businesses. And I realized, oh, holy shit, I need to be a buyer and seller of businesses instead of being a buyer and seller of widgets or products or services. And so I was like, right, I need to find a mentor who knows their shit. And I found a guy called Jeremy Harbour. He's just a legend, basically. He eats, breathes and sleeps M&As. He's bought and sold loads. And he's like one of the world's leading experts on small to medium-sized businesses, as in buying and selling them. And so I did his course. I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000. And it was awesome. I did it, 3 years ago. And it was worth every penny. In fact, if I had to pay $100,000 for that course, it was still worth it. Because as a result of that, I'm now growing my group, so to speak.
Nice. Really cool. And how do you recommend people to get started with that? Is it by learning with courses or any other advice?
Well, with M&A?
Yeah.
Oh, unfortunately, I don't think, like with trading, you could come from any walk of life and do like a course, like a good trading course with a good mentor and do all right. But the thing is with M&A, I feel that you need a rite of passage, because if you've never run a business before or never set one up, etc., and then you go and buy a business, let's say, you'll have no idea whether it's a good business, how to run it, blah, blah, blah. So I think the rite of passage is that you need to go through the whole process of setting up, running, growing, and selling a business. That's the full business cycle. And when you've done that at least once or twice, then I'd recommend getting into M&A, because like in business, there's so much crap you have to deal with. And once you've done all that, M&A is a lot easier. So now I can look at a balance sheet like before a meeting or even during the meeting and then see whether it's a good company, whether it's a dud, or if the director has been fiddling with the numbers. And yeah, I've made a mistake. In fact, because I'm a slow learner, I've made 2 huge errors in the past where I've bought one which was a dud company and another one where the person effectively messed around with the numbers, and I didn't see until I was in the business and I realized, shit, I've just spent 40 grand on this business and it's worth minus money.
Yeah, probably sick. And what last advice do you have for people about trading, how they can get started or maybe grow themselves as trader?
Yeah, so with trading, to begin with, well, first of all, don't go anywhere near binary options. That's not trading, that's just gambling. I would veer away from day trading to begin with, because the thing is, when you're day trading, you're looking at the smaller time frame charts, like the 5-minute charts, and you'll no doubt have a smaller stop loss, like 5, 10, maybe 20 pip stop loss. And so your position sizes are going to be far higher. And as a result of that, your emotions are going to be way, way higher. And so when you're in a losing position or even a winning position, you're going to be looking at that P&L and going, holy shit, whether it's up or down. And like, it's really fast, the 1 minute, 5 minute and 15-minute charts. And it's like taking a 16-year-old learner driver and putting them in an F1 racing car in the Grand Prix. They're going to floor it. And then at the first corner, they're going to crash. And you've probably seen that yourself with, your followers and whatnot. So I would literally recommend finding something on the daily charts and make it nice and boring, because you don't have to think fast. You can think slow and then just get used to it. I mean, learning the software is half the battle. That'll probably take a few weeks. And I know a lot of people knock dummy trading, but I mean, I would dummy trade until you're consistently profitable. Now, with dummy trading, there's no emotional element to that. But I mean, at least dummy trade just to learn the software, get used to, placing trades, how to move stuff around, how to spot your trades and get into your habits. And then once you're consistently profitable, maybe 3 months later, let's say, then open up a live account. But find a mentor or hell, worst case scenario, just get my book. I give it out for free. And it's got 23 mistakes that all traders make. And it's basically this whole industry is a minefield. And if you just avoid the minefields, you'll break even at least.
So how can people get the book and how can they find you?
If you go to investingstarterpack.com, there's my free book. I mean, if we only post it to those in the UK, but if you're abroad, we just send the PDF. So just read everything. So in order to understand stuff, you need to understand what day trading is, what swing trading is, what trend trading and all these other different types. So what's best for you. And if there's one book to read, by the way, I've read a lot of trading books and most of them are shit in my view. There's one book called Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom by Dr. Van Tharp. It's a really cheesy title.
Yeah, but they all have cheesy title. Like all the trading books have that. So
yeah, but it's a really good book. And I'm really Van Tharp knows his stuff when it comes to trading psychology, and it's really pleasing to see that most of the book is around risk management, which is everything.
And we've had Van Tharp on the podcast too. Also, if people want to check out the interview, they can probably find it on desarttrade.com. It's going to be interesting also to listen to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Siam, how can people find you if they want to reach out or connect with you?
I think the best way is just YouTube me. Just type in Siam Kidd. And I put out a video once or twice a week on there. I've got loads of videos on there. So yeah, just find me on there. I don't want to sell anything or anything, but YouTube is the way forward, I think. So. And
what kind of goal do you have for the future?
Oh, for me, the thing that drives me is the schooling system. So I've got a 50-year plan to change every school in the world. So I've got a hard deadline because my son is 8 months old at the moment. And I don't trust any school to send him to because they're all shit. Like, I don't have a typical sob story. I had a nice childhood. My parents worked hard to send me to a really nice private boarding school. And it was like in my area, it was like the most expensive and best school you could find. And I wouldn't even send my child to that school. And that was the best money could buy. And so I'm first of all going to set up my own super school. So when Koa, my son, when he's 4, so basically my deadline is his age. So I have to set up the school so he can go to when he's 4 or 5 and then all the way up till 18. And the syllabus is just really the schooling system is setting up kids to be redundant.
Oh yeah.
Because we're living in an exponential world, especially with tech. And give it 10 years time, we won't have taxi drivers or bus drivers or waiters and waitresses. McDonald's will be fully automated. Pretty much every job you can think of will have disappeared in 10, 20 years time. And the schooling system hasn't changed in 200 years and they're still teaching the same shit. Hell, I've never used trigonometry in my life or Pythagoras, all this stuff. So our schools need to teach stuff which will gear them up, like coding and robotics and stuff like that. And I think just like the car made horses redundant, AI and robotics and 3D printing and all this tech is going to make humans redundant. So we need any unskilled worker is going to be jobless. So you need to upskill yourself in a niche which AI will struggle with. So, yeah.
And what's your main motivation for all this? In other words, why do you want to do that?
I want to leave a legacy. One, I want my kids to have the best, stepping stone for this world, because the next 20 years is going to be absolutely nothing like the last 20 years. And I think we are living in a crony capitalistic world at the moment. We have QE, we have crazy debt levels, we have bastard bankers, and like one of the things that I said to myself years ago, and I'll say this to all my friends, for the rest of my life, prices will always be too high, taxes will always be too high, politicians and bankers will always be bastards. So you just got to deal with it and adapt. And so I just want to make sure that my kids and kids going through any other school, has at least the skill set to deal with stuff, because savers and the middle class are being eroded away at the moment. So
right, that's a big one. So I just want to remind the people that all the show notes are going to be on desiretotrade.com. If you want to find the links and find out about you also, it's all going to be on desiretotrade.com. And cool. Simon, we have a question we ask the guests at the end of every podcast. If you could give only one piece of advice for traders, what would that one sentence of advice be?
Oh, trading. Diligent nonchalance. 2 words. So you need to be diligent, i.e. you need to trade, just be obsessed with your trading journal and your stats, and you need to be nonchalant. You must not give a shit about your trades. Whether you're winning, whether you're losing, you need to be completely neutral. So yeah, nonchalant trading is good trading. And the thing is, if you can't put your head on the pillow when you go to sleep and not think about your trades, you're doing something wrong. Because if you're going to bed thinking, wonder what that euro-dollar trade is doing, you've bet too big. Your position sizes are way too big. So you need to reduce your position sizes so they're so small that you don't give a shit. And guess what? I promise you, your trading will explode.
I love that. Siam Kidd, thanks so much for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
So that was it, guys, for the interview with Siam Kidd. If you guys have any question about this interview or anything you want clarification on, feel free to reach out to me and Siam. The best way is going to be the Facebook group over at desiretotrade.com/group. And it's pretty much the easiest way to contact me and other guests of my podcast. If you guys want to see my video these days, as I went back to Canada, I still keep the format of doing a daily kind of video, daily vlog, if you want to call it that way. And I share pretty much all my trade that I take, all the things that I look at. And you guys can have a good overview of what I'm doing these days. So simply go on my YouTube channel. You'll find all the links at desiretotrade.com. And I really hope I can make a difference with this. I hope I can inspire you guys to work harder and help you guys learn. That's pretty much the goal here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the podcast. And I'll see you guys next week for the next episode of the Desire to Trade podcast. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to the Desire to Trade podcast. To get all the information on this show, free articles, and unique resources, make sure to check out www.desiretotrade.com and subscribe. Please leave us a review and let us know what you thought about the show. It's time to become the best trader you can be. See you next time.